Boris Johnson loses majority as Tory MP Phillip Lee crosses floor to join Lib Dems. Phillip Lee literally walked over to the opposition benches midway through Johnson's speech, asserting dominance af. If that's true, it is absolutely wonderful. Oh my fucking god, this is awesome. I think this time Boris genuinely did get confused mid-speech, and it wasn't just a stunt to seem more likable and quirky. I love watching British Parliament. All they do is boo and moan at each other. It doesn't even matter who is speaking. I mean, to be fair, it's probably difficult to concentrate when an entire room starts shouting at a random point in the middle of your speech. Will this trigger a no confidence vote? Most likely scenario right now is a general election called by Boris, which Corbyn may not be able to resist agreeing to, as you need 2/3 majority and Corbyn has been asking for one for months. In my opinion, he should wait and get legislation passed to block no deal first and then have a lane election. Without a law blocking a no deal Brexit, BJ can also set the election to occur in November after a hard Brexit occurs. I'm almost afraid to ask, but didn't the EU indicate that if a general election was called, there would be chance for yet another extension? Yes, but the UK would have to ask for one, which Boris has said he won't. I agree, an election right now won't provide any sort of clarity. Brexit has fractured all the parties now and there won't be any clear majority. The only way, in my opinion, to have a clear mandate on the will of the people is to hold a second referendum, which people treat as heresy. MPs from all sides are trying to be opportunistic about the Brexit chaos, and I don't think anyone can reasonably benefit from it. But I sure am glad to see it all explode in Bojo's face either way. I've personally been wanting a second referendum ever since the Leave campaign were found guilty of electoral fraud. I'm all for upholding the will of the British public, but when the ones in charge were literally investigated and found guilty of illegal behavior during their campaign, regardless of what your leanings are, people deserve the chance to have their say without that underhanded interference. The Conservative that switched parties, creating the loss of majority, had an insightful statement about it. Mr. Lee said the Conservative Party had become a narrow faction in which one's conservatism is measured by how recklessly one wants to leave the European Union. British House of Commons seems like such a ruckus. Like a bunch of people yelling at one another. Fun in a way, but insane. Way more fun to watch on YouTube than congressional sessions though, even though as a US person I got no idea what's happening half the time. What a crazy time to be speaker. Really have to stand your ground while the political walls are on fire all around you. That's the opposite of any reasonable definition of conservatism. Almost seems like they've abandoned their conservatism. Global phenomenon. Australia's conservatives, just like America and Britain and everyone else's it seems, have just been dedicated purely to vandalism for a few years now too. Because conservatism is dead. The world has passed it by, and all the dwindling number of conservatives can do is cling as hard as they can to their antiquated and hurtful ideology. Edit. My first gold. Thank you, kind sir/madam. Yup. It's why modern conservatism is about beating liberals. They will abandon all ideals and values if it means they win. What we are seeing is the death throes of conservatism as we knew it. David Frum said it best. If conservatives become convinced that they cannot win democratically, they will not abandon conservatism. They will reject democracy. They ended up abandoning both. In the US at least, they've long abandoned everything, including deficits and holding presidents to a "higher moral standard." The only thing they haven't abandoned is the racism, which is all their ideology has ever really been about in the first place.